Have you ever opened your banking app and then immediately shut it down? Not because you didn't have time, but because you just didn't want to see
that number again.
Don't wanna mess up. I can't lose your love. I can't get enough. And I'ma keep my heart right by my side. Yeah, I can act tough.
You know, here's the thing. A lot of people think that budgeting problems are actually math problems, but often they're not. Often they are emotional problems. They are avoidance problems, and people just ignoring things, particularly finances in their lives, without stopping for a moment. And usually they don't want to stop. You don't want to open up your phone and look at your app because you're terrified to see the number. And I've been there. I've absolutely been there at times in my life where it's been a couple months and I haven't looked at my bank, and I'm just wondering, what is it going to look like when I open this up? This is going to be a can of worms, and your heart's racing and you don't know what to think. Maybe you don't even want to tell your spouse or your significant other, and you're just been ignoring it and avoiding it. I can remember a few years back when my wife and I were first married, and we had, at the time, I think we had 5 kids, and it was coming up on Christmas, and I knew we didn't really have enough money for gifts. But instead of, talking to my wife about it and telling her, hey, I don't think we have enough money for gifts this year, I didn't want to disappoint them. So I went out and just put it all on a credit card and bought all kinds of gifts. And even as the kids are opening the gifts, I can remember feeling anxious. Not a moment of, yes, I'm so excited that you're opening these gifts, but actually a moment of anxiety, because all I was doing was I was waiting. I was waiting until January when the credit card statement would come in. And I can remember just grabbing the envelope and putting it on the counter in January and not wanting to look at it. Knowing, Nate, you're working a few jobs right now. You're not making a lot of money.
And you definitely spent way too much money for Christmas.
And now that ache and pain is going to come. And I got to a point where I realized that just avoiding it and not looking at it, it wasn't going to help me in any way. And it was actually making it
even worse. My anxiety would be just heightened even more. The stress.
So much so that even going to make minimum purchases, let's say at Tim Hortons, or I would use that same card that I bought all those gifts with, and I didn't even know where the balance was. And so it was like almost
It's like a hope and a prayer.
like tap.
Ah, good. It went through.
And even at the cash saying, I'm glad that went through. And the cashier just laughing about it, but her not even realizing that I wasn't joking. I was glad that transaction went through because I haven't looked at my statement in quite some time. Now, there's some reasons why we avoid looking at our bank account. One of them is fear. Just like the example I gave you, I was just absolutely terrified. The other one is shame. We just feel like, man, I should be better than this. And lastly, it's just like we avoid looking at it because there's so much going on in our lives. We're picking up the kids from daycare. We're trying to do our work. We're trying to be good employees. Maybe you have kids at school and you're dropping them off. You're trying to be a good spouse. You're trying to make sure that your house is clean. Maybe you have a farm like us and you want to make sure the animals are fed. And there's just so much going on that you just can't. You're just so overwhelmed, and there's just so much happening at once that it's crippling you and it's crushing you from the inside out. And so avoidance often isn't that you're irresponsible. It's not that you are not a good person. It's actually because you're just overwhelmed and there's too much going on. I want to land on a quick faith principle here. In the Gospel of Luke 14:28, it talks about counting the cost. I'm going to read that to you quickly here. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. What's the first thing you'll do? Won't you sit down and figure out how much it will cost and if you have enough money to pay for it? Otherwise, you'll start building the tower, but not be able to finish. Then everyone who sees what's happening will laugh at you. They will say, you started building, but couldn't finish the job? You see, the principle here is that before you start something, or before you even purchase something, you're going to make sure that you have the right amount of money, the right amount of skills and tools to finish that job, right? When overwhelm takes over, we end up becoming irrational and we end up doing things that are even against biblical principles of stewardship, of counting the cost. So even me, myself, I've failed in that at times where I'm not actually counting the cost. All I'm doing is hoping and praying. And at the end, it's not a wise thing to do. Now, this passage isn't there to shame people or point to, hey, by the way, people are going to laugh at you. But actually, it's about wisdom in how we use our money. And sometimes that's where we're afraid. We're already afraid of, am I going to be able to purchase groceries? Because I haven't counted the cost first. And so we need to count the cost before. We need to know how much is in our bank account before we start making purchases. And so one of the things that really challenges me in this is that faithfulness through stewardship actually starts with what we have, not with what we wish we had, what we see other people have, but actually what we have. And so this week, what I want you to do is I'm going to give you just a quick 5-minute action step for the week. If you do this, this will get you rolling. This will get you moving. So what I want you to do is I want you to open up your banking app for 5 minutes. Let's try this week. A 5-minute exercise of just opening up my banking app, having a look at it, and look at my current balance, look at my last 5 transactions, and then close the app. That's it. What have you spent in your last 5 transactions? What is your balance looking like right now? And already, you are counting the cost. And so that's a good step this week for you and for I to step into. And I want to make this clear that there's no spreadsheets, there's no budget at this point. All you're doing is you're going to check. You're going to open it up and you're going to check. And that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And I just want to know from you guys, my viewers, are you someone that checks your bank account often? Or are you someone that checks your bank account rarely? Just throw a comment below and say,
I never check it, Nate. Never.
or, yeah, I'm pretty good on this. I'm pretty on par. Let's move on to the next piece, Nate. Next week, we're going to continue in our series and we're going to talk about stewardship versus ownership. I really hope you guys have enjoyed the video today. Make sure to stick around, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and share it with your friends. 52 weeks. We are now finished week 1. Let's go, guys.